And I started thinking, like, maybe I want to own my own business. This is awesome, like, that we're making stuff that people are buying. And it just really kind of resonated with me. And that's, like, one of the first memories I remember is that night, just thinking, like, I think I want to do this someday.
All right, I'm here at Il Primo with Kirsten Bender of the Pop Corner. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well. Can you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so like he said, I own the Pop Corner, and my popcorn history goes way back. We can kind of talk about that here soon. But I'm a new mom, so that's something kind of fun about me.
Congrats.
I had a baby, thank you, about a year ago. His name is Roman, and he comes to work with me every day, so that's a fun challenge. Our business is a family business, so I'm all about family, and I don't know, I would say if I have free time, which is very rarely anymore, I like to do like creative things, so like baking, cooking, that type of thing.
Very
That's
cool.
like my favorite stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just to get into that popcorn history a little bit deeper, for those of you guys that don't know, my family and I moved from Omaha, Nebraska in 2001, and then we opened Vic's Popcorn. I think it was 2004-ish.
I think so, yeah.
And so I was still in middle school or so, but we opened the popcorn store because Vic Larson had popcorn up in Omaha, and it was just a really big hit up there. We loved the popcorn balls, Rice Krispie treats, all the great flavors, and decided Andover needed that. And Kirsten was one of the first employees.
Yes, so it was, I can go like really in depth or?
Go very in depth.
Okay, so my story kind of started, I was a senior in high school, and I needed, or going into my senior year, and I wanted to have my own like real job. So before that, I had just babysat like neighborhood kids and stuff. I'm like, I want my first real job. So my dad and I were just kind of driving around Andover, and he was like, hey, I think a popcorn store opened. Like, we should really stop in. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. So we walked in, and I remember it was your mom and dad behind the counter, and they were just super nice. Like, we obviously didn't know them before that. And they gave us samples and just kind of told us all about their business and stuff. And, it was truly a mom and pop shop, and it was just super fun. And my dad, like, being the dad that he is, he was like, hey, we should go apply there, they don't have any employees yet. Garage, yeah. And I was like, I don't know, Dad, like, popcorn store, that kind of just sounds, like, I want to work at the Warren, like all my friends are, and I was like, I don't know. But I ended up, like, my dad, I think, had asked your mom if they were hiring, and she's like, I think we are thinking about bringing someone on, but right now, like, her and your dad were doing everything and getting started up. So, long story short, I don't know how, I don't even know if I applied, but all I remember is sitting at the table with your mom, and she's like, when can you start? It was like the easiest interview ever, which was awesome because I was probably super nervous.
High school, of course,
yes, high school, first job, first interview. So I remember, like, just starting in high school, and it was really just an educational experience for our customers.
Yeah.
So, any business starting out, it's kind of slow in the beginning, and people would come in and they're like, what is Vic's Corn Popper? Like, do you guys sell popcorn machines? Like, what is it? And
Are you Vic?
Yeah, are you Vic? Like, they just didn't really understand what gourmet popcorn was. We had to, I remember, like, having to educate them. Like, they thought their only experience with gourmet popcorn was like popcorn tins that they got probably from Sam's or something.
They've been sitting there for 3 months.
Exactly. And we're like, we make it fresh, like it was made today probably, So it was just really interesting in the beginning, like educating the customers, and then building that following up. I remember like helping with that, and the first Christmas was insane. Like, none of us were ready for that, I think, and it was so much fun. So
I don't really remember the first Christmas per se. They all kind of ran together for doing it for
you
that
would have
long,
been,
but
like, middle school probably, right?
I think like 6th grade or
Yeah.
so. So I remember
Hard to
like the early days. Like the biggest thing I remember was just walking over from the middle school with all my friends, getting a slushie, and like feeling like the hot shot because it was my parents' store, and I'm like, I'll go get it behind the counter. Don't worry.
I got you. That's so funny.
Yeah. So what was it like during some of those early days? Like, you had some of the other high school friends that worked there? And
yes, we had a lot of, like, we called it the original Vic's crew. I think just in the beginning, that first Christmas just, like, blew everybody away. Like, I remember and I don't even know if this was the first or second Christmas, but just watching like how hard your parents would be there like night and day.
Yeah.
And now like as a mom, I'm like, holy cow, how did they make that happen? Like I remember we'd have to tell your dad to like go take naps in the truck outside because he had worked like all night. But just seeing like that work ethic, I remember thinking like, this is like, I want to do this. They're working so hard like to build this up, and this is so fun like to be a part of. And you know, just people coming in like super excited about the products because we're a store that sells popcorn. Like who would ever heard of that around these parts? And I remember we would like drizzle the chocolate caramel on the counter, like where everybody could like, and sometimes people would try to reach their hands in and we're like, ooh, maybe not, don't touch it please.
Right.
But just, you know, educating people about it, and they were just blown away by the creativity and everything. So
I don't think some people realize like how busy it gets, and it's from like what Thanksgiving-ish time, December through almost the first of the year. It's insane.
It's insane for sure.
I know, like through high school and college, one of my favorite things to do, I mean, being whatever 15 through 22, is like I'd be like, I'll work the night shift. And so it was like me and like a lot of my best friends would go until 4 in the morning making caramel corn because you can only make so many batches at a time.
And trying to explain that to customers that want like 30 tins at a time. We're like, we can't physically make it that fast. Like our machines only go so
people are in the
fast.
pocket. It's like you can only make 4 batches an hour or whatever of caramel, and then
it was fun.
Yeah, those are good times. And so you mentioned it's a family business, and so yours is like everybody in the family pretty
involved. Much. Yes, so I kind of just picked people up along the way. So I guess we can kind of fill in the gap between. So basically, I remember coming home from college, like you said, and working the holidays. I would come back whenever I could. Like it was kind of crazy. Like sometimes I would skip like Husker games. I was going to UNL.
That's it's a religion up there. Yeah.
It is, and I would like come home on the weekend, and my parents would be like, "Are we gonna hang out?" And I'm like, "No, I just want to work." Like, is that okay? Because I just loved, you know, being at Vic's. It was just so much fun, and I think at one point I vaguely remember, and maybe your mom remembers. I don't know, probably, because she called me. But I remember I was probably like 18 years old, and I told your mom that if she ever sold the business, like I would definitely be interested, like, you know, because I just loved it so much. And you know, time went on, and I would come back for the holidays and stuff. And I remember one holiday, like coming back, and there was no popcorn on the shelf at Christmas time, and we had backlogged like 1 million orders to make and everything. And I remember it was probably like getting close to 10 o'clock, and everybody was like fizzling out. And I like asked your parents, I'm like, can Julie's my best friend, shout out to Julie.
Shout out Julie. Better be listening.
I was like, can Julie and I just kind of work all night and get these orders done, and then can we make popcorn and stock the shelf? And your mom was like, you guys, like, we're going to be working so hard just to make everything for these orders that, like, if you can at least do the orders, then you can go home, you can stay however late you want. And I was like, I will literally stay all night if I can just stock the shelf. Because it got kind of awkward at a point where
people are coming in, there's nothing.
And they're like, where's the popcorn? Because we just couldn't.
I remember some of those times,
And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to work all night long. I'm going to make every batch. And I remember, like, what got me through that, I'm kind of a night person anyway, but what got me through that overnight shift is like once all the orders were done, like let's say I was making cinnamon and I was stocking like all the bags on the shelf, and I was like, okay, all these bags are gonna sell tomorrow. That's gonna make them like $200. And then I was like, next I'm gonna make fruity. All these bags are gonna be gone tomorrow. That's $200. So I remember like being really young and like thinking that, but I'm like, that motivated me to get through it. It was just like my job is gonna make them money. Like, and then I started thinking like, maybe I want to own my own business. This is awesome. Like that we're making stuff that people are buying, and it just really kind of resonated with me. And that's like one of the first memories I remember is that night, just thinking like, I think I want to do this someday. Like obviously I can't do popcorn because they have that figured out, but you know, I'll find something that I want to do because this is just so fun.
Yeah, you had that business mindset off the bat. I think popcorn too is just either the bags or the tins is like so rewarding because you know, like they're gonna enjoy it with their family, or that's gonna be a great gift that somebody's gonna love to receive, and just the amount, like the mass quantity of stuff that's moving in and out of the doors is pretty crazy to see.
Crazy to think how much goes in and out. So and so I mean, I made it through that overnight shift. It was kind of a long one, but I remember, I think your parents called the next day, like around 11 or 12, and they're like, "Can you come back and help us?" Like,
I know you left at 7 a.m., but
yeah, but it was just insanity. But so in the meantime, you know, I was in college, going to school for business. I originally went. You might remember this, but I originally went for dentistry.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
I
and
forgot about
that was like, I really, for some reason, thought I wanted to be a dentist, but I knew I was going to go and get my degree in business because I wanted to have my own dentist office.
Sure.
So I figured that would be a good route. And I started taking those science classes at UNL, and I'm like, I made it through biology, I made it through chemistry. Organic chemistry hit me hard. I don't know if you ever had to take it.
I never had to, but
like
Peyton
that.
has taken it, and I know it's very
So
difficult.
hard. And I was like, my brain doesn't really, I mean, I get it, but my brain doesn't really function this way. Like, I feel like I'm not meant to do it. And so that's kind of the point where I was like, I had to think, I think it was sophomore year, I had to sit there and think, like, do I really want to go down this path, like, of dentistry? I don't know if this is what I really want to do. And so I sat there, I remember I was in my sorority with my friends, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life, you know? And they're like, well, you have your undergrad in business, so why don't you write some business plans or something and drop the dentistry? And so I did, and graduated with my business degree, and I got a minor in marketing because I always loved the marketing part of it. But then I ended up just like going to career fairs, and I took a corporate job right out of college at Toys R Us. And that was fun. I was an assistant manager working overnights, so I was like, ooh,
night
shift again. Like, part of it kind of made my brain put me back into a place where I was like, wow, the seasonality of this business kind of mirrors the
really
popcorn store. And I remember telling them that in my interview, and they were like, oh, that's some good experience that you have. And so I was, you know, busting my butt working.
And was that back in Wichita?
That was in Omaha, in Lincoln.
Yeah.
So I was kind of all over the Omaha, Lincoln area, and then in Council Bluffs, Iowa for a while too. And when I was, so I got promoted to store manager after a couple years of working with Toys R Us. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm working sometimes like 70, 80 hours a week salary, which kind of sucks sometimes.
Yeah. You're not getting that extra.
And, you know, and I'm just like, I like it, but I can't, like, I'm restricted. Since it's a corporation, I have to do it this way. I have to set my end caps to look like this. And I'm like, I think the end caps look better this way, or we'd sell them better this way. But we had to do it a certain way because it's a corporation and they want their standards, which makes sense. But I just remember thinking, like, I was saving up the whole time I was working. I'm like, I want to own my own business and do things my way and, you know, make it happen. And I was really down on myself, you know, after one of the fourth Christmases, I think, at Toys R Us, and I was like, this is just so hard. If I were working this hard, I wish it was for myself. And, you know, just kind of not happy with my career. And I remember my husband was like, well, you have some money saved up. Why don't you start seriously writing some business plans for stuff? Because I knew I wanted to eventually move back to Wichita because I wanted to, like, raise my family there. And family's always been huge for me, so I wanted to be close to my parents and siblings
I know
and
the
stuff.
feeling.
Yeah, because you went away for a while too. So, you know, I was just trying to look at the Wichita market and think, like, what could I do there? And every time I would, like, write or think about what my favorite job was, it was always the popcorn store. Like, my brain would just always come back to that, and I was like, gosh, I wish there was a way I could do something like that. But, like, I live in Omaha and they have that tapped out. You know, Wichita's, your parents have it. So, like, what can I do? So I wrote a couple plans, like one for a gym, like a 24-hour gym, and one for a restaurant. But I just wasn't excited about them. And, you know, I was just kind of in that stage when you're young and you're like, what am I going to do with my life?
For sure.
Everybody goes through that, I think. So literally around that time, I got a phone call from your mom, and she was like, hey, we're thinking about selling the store. Do you remember when you said something about that? And I'm like, stop. Like, literally, I have always wanted to write. It was like the perfect timing, everything. And so I started writing a business plan right away for a popcorn store. And I knew that, like, I wanted it to be something that I could maybe have multiple locations someday. I think at the time it was Andover Popcorn. And so, I mean, that would be doable, but I wanted it to maybe just have, like, a logo that we could brand easily and, you know, something like that. And I just always loved that it was on a corner. Like that was my favorite part. People would walk in and like tell you their life story. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
People would just be like, "Oh, I'm about to go to the grocery store now, and my niece is in town," and just unload on you.
Or the people that were worked near it, they would come in for their little 15-minute break, and
I just loved that. It felt like old fashioned to me, like where people, had time to talk to you and just kind of, it felt like a little escape away from everyday life.
It's kind of lost in the busyness.
Yeah, it's hard to find that anymore. So I knew I kind of wanted like an old fashioned vibe to the business and stuff. So, and I've always been kind of a huge dork, which you probably know. And so I thought, I was sitting with my sister and I'm like, what if we called it the Popcorner, because it's on the corner and it's popcorn. So basic, but I know, mind blown. So yeah, that's how we came up with the name, and we wanted it to be kind of old-fashioned, to recreate those feelings that I felt when I worked there in high school and everything. And so Allie, my sister, she was getting her degree in interior design, and while she was doing that, she also learned like all the design suites and everything. So she knew how to do graphics, and I'm like, hey, you want to help me with the logo? Because I don't know how to explain this to somebody what I want it to look like. And she sat there and we literally drew it on a napkin at my kitchen table in Omaha.
Really cool,
So it's like truly the kitchen table napkin story that people talk about. But I remember she'd email it to my dad because he was in Wichita, and we'd be like, let's see if we can curve the letters, underneath to make it look a little bit more old-fashioned. So we spent a lot of time working on that, and it's really cool to walk away like with our logo being on a lot of different things now that it was designed by a family member. So that's
really
kind of
cool,
how we got started.
Quick step back on that. So we started, that was perfect. It was actually more linear than I thought this was going to be. So we started at Vic's, because that's exactly what it was up in Omaha. And so my dad's name is Vaughn. And so they would always ask if he was Vic, which he is not Vic. Vic Larson is the guy that started it. And so then, I don't remember when it was, like 2011, 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. Vic had sold everything except for his like few stores in Omaha, I believe, to corporate. And so then they like mandated that they had to change it, because you could go to the middle gas station in the middle of nowhere and you'd see a bag of Vic's popcorn and you'd be like, wait, what? Where did that come from? But that was kind of the corporate Vic's. But so then we had to change the name, and then you had the opportunity to kind of rebrand it, like you said, so it wasn't just Andover, but you could make it more broad. It was cool. So now you have a West Side store.
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
So like in the beginning, when I took over, I was working behind the counter, which is my favorite thing to do. I don't get to do it very often anymore, but I was helping all the customers. I was making all the popcorn, and I remember like customers coming in and they're like, I just drove all the way here from Mace. And I'm like, holy moly, like that's a long ways away. That's quite a commitment for the popcorn. That's awesome. So we kept hearing that like over and over. And our first year was 2014, October. So this was like around 2016. So 2 years in, we had gone through 2 Christmases. And after you go through your first Christmas, I feel like you can take on the world. It's ridiculous. But we survived 2 of those, and I'm like, Dad, what if my dad is my business partner, by the way. I guess I don't know if I got that far, but I'm like, what if we open a little pop-up store on the west side? Because I've had a lot of people coming in. And that was one thing we had done at Toys R Us, is we would open little pop-up stores like at the mall, just for the holidays. So I kind of learned that from them. And I'm like, let's find a location out there. So we did, and we opened October 2nd. And we had opened October 2nd at Andover too. We had gotten the keys from your dad. I think it was the day, like right after the Andover Days parade. So then we like painted and did a few little quick things that we could, and we opened October 2nd out there too. So it was kind of special to open the West one around the same time. So, truly just intended to pop up out there and see if there was a market for it, since we had heard so many people coming over to Andover from the west side. So we opened our doors, and we were going to close it at the end of December. And I just remember, like, West Siders are, like, super nice. I know you grew up in Andover with me. We're nice too out east, but West Siders, I think they're nicer. This might not be a popular comment, but
this should be a podcast for everybody. We'll start the war later.
Exactly. But they were just coming in and like coming coming up to our counter out west and like shaking our hand, and they're like, "Thank you for coming out here. Like,
that's really
this
cool.
is so cool. Like, we've been looking forward to this for so long." And they were just super warm and supportive out there. And you know, our sales, we did pretty good. And we sat down at the end after we survived that third Christmas with 2 stores. We sat down and we thought, like, okay, we did survive having 2, which was terrifying. And we have some really awesome staff out here, like really, really good staff. One of them, who is actually the store manager now out west, started at Vic's with us too. So that was really fun, Megan.
Megan's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would hate to say goodbye to these people because, you know, they knew their job was seasonal, but they didn't work like their job was seasonal. They were like really invested in the business too. And so we had put a lot of time and money building it out. Like, we literally got on our hands and knees and scraped the carpet glue off the floor ourselves.
Wow.
Like, that's great. You know, that was, it's probably one of my worst moments as a business owner. I wanted to save like maybe $1,000 by scraping it on my own, but you know, every penny counts.
Yeah, for sure.
We had just spent so much time and energy that we're like, let's try it. Like, the sales were kind of there to support it, and I'm like, let's see if we can make a crack at it.
Yeah.
So it became a permanent store,
That's really
and
cool.
that was really fun.
And another tie with the family is you ended up hiring one of my cousins, Jared.
Yes,
So
Jared
it's
worked out
funny
there.
how that all works out.
How's he doing?
He's good. He's good.
I need to see Jared. I
Yeah,
haven't seen him in a while.
it's so funny. It's a small
Mhm.
world. So did you have a bunch of ideas of what you would change then? Like, prior to my mom making that phone call to you, did you have ideas like, if I ever took over the popcorn store,
Well,
or was it just come flooding back when she called?
I think everybody kind of has that. I'm sure my employees have a lot, and I encourage them to share them with me. Because, I mean, I did have some ideas. I was like, ooh, what if we made this flavor?
Mhm.
But the coolest thing, and I think looking back, one of my favorite parts is your parents were very open.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, try it. Like, let's make this
Random
flavor. I'm
flavors
trying
or-
to think of one right now, but
I can't
all
think of
kinds.
a specific one, but I remember like they would try to make, I don't know, like a candy bar, certain flavors,
Yeah.
something. But like
Yeah.
sometimes it would be really bad.
well,
But
you
and
gotta
sometimes it would be
try
really
to
good.
know.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was
But
really cool.
they would like let us do that stuff, and I think that was really empowering for my young mind. I was like, ooh, like they let me do that. Would I ever been able to do that at Toys R Us or a corporation?
Right.
No, like you have to do things by the book. So,
For sure.
and that, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of my, I think, best things about working there is just feeling empowered. And you guys were in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And so like your parents would go watch
Always
your
busy.
games.
Yeah, they would not miss that stuff. Yeah.
And so they were like, Kirsten, you're in charge of the store this weekend, and I'm like, like I'm 18, and but
Right.
they had that trust
Yeah,
in
they
me.
did. That's really
And
cool.
I think that really helped too. I'd never considered myself a leader in high school. I was kind of shy and like not reserved, but
Yeah.
I never would have thought of myself as a leader in high school. So it
Here
was
we are.
just them like having that trust too really went a long ways, and so that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think 2 is the like optimal amount for Wichita, or is there room for growth more?
There is. I think there's room for growth south. Hopefully
Yeah, like
someday.
Derby or something maybe.
Yeah. The newest thing that we're doing, and I can announce it on here. Hopefully.
Let's do it. Do whatever you want.
I haven't
It's up to
really
you.
officially announced it, but it can go on here first. But so my dad wants to do more stores, and he would love to take it national. What I told him now is since I had a baby last year, I'm like, I can't do any more stores like now because I want to be a good mom and I want to have balance, and I can't just halfway devote time to things. I have to go like all in. So I didn't want my baby to take the back seat or my family.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
So off the
Dad,
juggle.
exactly. I'm like, what if we do a food truck? And he's like, ooh. And my sister-in-law, shout out to Carissa, hopefully you'll listen to this. She texted me a picture of like a trolley that she saw rolling around up in Nebraska. She lives up in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a food truck trolley, and I'm like, that is literally on brand, like so
very
hard
much
for
so,
us.
yeah.
So my dad's, I showed him the picture and he like freaked out, and he starts finding like trolleys secondhand, and he's really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
So he found one in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we literally trucked it here. So
Did
we
you
have
really?
it.
That's
It's behind our
exciting.
store right now, and it just at our East store, and we have to outfit it, which will be kind of expensive and time consuming, but we have it purchased, so
that'll be really cool. That'll be a hit.
I'm thinking Wichita is such a good city for food trucks.
It really is. Really even just like down at like the water walk by those by the Hyatt, they have like a little food truck deal every now and then, once a month or so.
Yeah, and Wichita State, and we already work with Wichita State, so I'm hopefully we can get in at their food truck plaza there.
That's really cool. That's exciting.
So just like concerts, Riverfest, hopefully. I mean, I just think it's such a great city for it that we can maybe even run it like 5 days a week, and that can be like our third store outlet for now, because I can't do anything.
I've seen his evolution of Riverfest carts and
yes,
everything.
He built that with his bare hands too. He loves building things. So
the engineer
this will
comes
be
out,
his little project. Yeah,
for sure.
So it's gonna be fun.
It'd be cool. I mean, even down the road, if you guys, go head to head with like Garrett's or somebody like that down the road.
Love Garrett's. So yeah, that would be awesome.
It's a bigger brand. So just send some to Oprah, I think, is how you do it. And
yeah, I don't know how to do that, but that would be a good way to try.
Yeah, I'm sure she has taste testers or something.
Yeah, maybe
make sure
just
everything's
to double check. That's a good idea, though.
So let's see here. So you guys have it's not just popcorn. What else do you guys offer? So I know back in the day it was popcorn, Rice Krispie treats. They had the popcorn balls were classic, and we had kind of slushies, and then eventually fudge. And so how else have you guys?
The slushies were so fun, but I was like, they kept like leaking everywhere.
There's
and
always something wrong with them.
Yeah. And they were loud. Yeah. And man, it killed me to get rid of those. But just they were older machines because they opened with us. So I was like, I don't want to buy another machine. They were going to be $25,000 for a new ice machine, and I'm like,
I think your dad could build one for us.
Yeah, my dad kept fixing it, and like bless his heart, it just was like they had to go.
That's like a full-time job.
Yes, and just sticky messes everywhere. So I was like, what can we do that would be more like on brand with old fashioned?
Yeah.
And so we came up with the fresh squeezed lemonade.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of popular for spring and summer. And then in the winter, we do like a hot cocoa and hot cider bar where they can like add their own toppings. But we still do the popcorn balls, the Rice Krispies, all the popcorn flavors, a lot of them. And then we never did butter. Did that ever seem weird to you? But we never did butter of it.
People always ask because I think people see the popcorn and they immediately think like movie popcorn, and they're like, oh, I want some butter. We're like, well, it's salted. And it's fancy.
So we never did butter before, but I was like, I'm gonna try butter. I honestly didn't know how to do it because we never did.
It's a big.
Yeah, so we
pump it on. I don't know.
So we like started popping it with the butter oil and the butter salt with it, and butter's like one of our best sellers now, which makes like total sense. I don't know why it took so long. I think I was like 3 years in before I even thought of that.
Honestly, didn't even know you had that.
They want butter, so we'll do it. And then we also do fudge. So fudge is like, I'm trying to grow our fudge line a little bit more. Right now my mom makes all of it, Phyllis. Shout out to Phyllis.
Shout out.
And she wraps each square like quarter pounds so they can just grab and go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of a fun line for her and keeps her very busy.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, especially with a variety of flavors. So.
Oh yeah, we like to be creative that way too.
So you guys did come across, I don't know if it was a challenge, and I don't know the full story about it, and I'm sure there's some politics involved or something, but moving down the road down Central to your new location, how was that process? Was that difficult?
Yes, that was probably my biggest occupational struggle. So we're hitting our 5-year mark in October, and out of the whole 5 years, that has been the hardest moment for me. So we had come off of our really high of, deciding to keep our west location, and that was. So January of 2017 hit, we had just done the 2 stores, one out east, or one in Andover, one out west. And we were so excited because we're like, that was such hard work building that store. We're keeping it like 2017 is going to be our year where we can just kind of chill and, fine tune the brand and not take time off really, because you can't take a lot of time off when you own a business. But we were just planning on like a low key year, 2017. Well, we got a notification from our landlord had told us we want to move a national chain into your Andover store, and they'll be next door to you. And I'm thinking, that's awesome. Like, nothing's been there since Dollar General moved out. They built like their own store in Andover, and so it's kind of just been vacant there. So I'm like, that'd be so cool to have a neighbor, and this will be great. Bring more people our way, and we had just kind of paid them like a little bit for the holiday storage to use that vacant space. So I was like, oh, that'll kind of be a bummer. We won't get that extra, what we called it our warehouse, but darn, we'll lose our warehouse, but hey, it'll be worth it during the slow times of the year to have a neighbor. Well, then they said, well, we're going to take half of your square footage to do that.
That's crazy.
And I was like, oh my, like that's not that's not going to happen. Turns out, and this is like a lesson everyone learns lessons when they own a business, but I had signed, so your parents had expanded, I want to say almost half of what the original place used to be. They expanded and added that other room. Yep. And then, so when I bought the assets and everything, that room was part of it. Well, then after that, I had expanded, I want to say another 800 square feet after that. So we had a huge space in Andover, and it was bougie. It was awesome. Like, we had the space.
It was really cool. Yeah, I loved how big it was.
It was perfect. We just, needed to build the traffic up. So that was always going to be like our flagship location. We had built it exactly the way we wanted to. Well, when I expanded after your parents' expansion, I had signed a month-to-month lease on that. And I guess fully grasping that, I didn't really understand at the time what I was doing. So they said, well, we're taking that because you're month-to-month, so obviously that's going to go away.
They can legally do whatever they want. Yeah.
And then they're like, we'd like to make it even and take the part that your parents had expanded to make it an even space for them. And I was like, well, how can you take that? And they're like, well, it's year 3. Your lease is up for negotiation at year 3. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like. So in my mind, it had been there since high school.
Right,
It was
it's
a
just
permanent.
part of it, yeah.
It was the popcorn store. Like, you can't just take that from us. Like, we've been here forever.
Right.
And so it was like very, very heartbreaking. And people see the dark side of business, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it was just like a straight business deal. Like, they wanted that big tenant in there because they signed longer leases, bigger names,
more money,
And we were just like a small fry compared to them. So it was one of those things that there was just no way we could stay there because they were taking half of our square footage. So it's like if someone were to take half of your home, like, could you live in your home? Probably, but would you want to? No.
Right,
It would just be
especially
miserable.
once you're used to all that extra space,
So we were forced to kind of look for a new spot, and unfortunately, it was never my goal to leave Andover. Me and my husband bought our house like where we are in Andover, so I could like walk to work every day, which I totally did. It was awesome. But so I planned on being there forever, but we had to go find something. So there wasn't like really any good corner locations in Andover. So
it had to be a corner.
It had to be a corner because popcorn. So I started driving down Central. I'm like, let's just find like the nearest thing we can find. And I remember that day that they said like, basically they're like, we're gonna take it, if we can, So I'm like, Dad, let's go get in the car and drive. Yeah. And we did, and we found like our new East location that same day, and we had signed a lease.
What was there? Was there anything in there?
It was Battle Stations Gaming, which I
remember
vaguely remember. Yeah. So it was perfect. We loved the location out east. Now it turned out, Andover's my home, so it was heartbreaking. But now, like, just being like in the Wichita vicinity, we get so much more traffic.
Well, it's 5 minutes away from Andover people, but it's 5 or 10 minutes closer to everybody else.
Yeah, so. and I live in Andover, and I drive right by it almost every day to go into Wichita and stuff. So we figured it would be a great location, like even for Andover folks. Unfortunately, our El Dorado and Rose Hill have to drive a little further, but so that's kind of how that happened. But the silver lining is like our business has grown from it. So ultimately that was the goal, is to grow the business to the point where Wichita, and maybe it could even expand beyond Wichita someday. Sure. So it was a good business decision. It was just very hard. Right. At the time I like cried almost every day for like a month because I'm like, really so much history here, and it was tough. So. Sure.
Did you make it over to churn and burn quite a bit then?
I do. I'm trying to lose all my baby weight. I have like 10 more pounds. Well, 10 more pounds for my weight loss goal in general. But so I've been trying to be really good, and so I've actually cut back on caffeine, which is usually like my lifeblood. So I've cut back a lot.
As a business owner, makes sense.
But oh man, I love churn and burn.
That dangerous for me too would have been in high school and college for sure. Is Emperor's right there too. I love Emperor's.
I swear we like kept Emperor. Like we paid probably their mortgage, I swear, in sales. Like the first, while we were building out our East store, we went there like almost every day.
It's good. It's probably the best fried rice, especially for your money in Wichita.
Yeah, they're killing it here. They do a great job.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that surprised you about being a business owner? I mean, there's probably a lot, but anything that stood out?
So I told your mom this last time she came in. I still see her like every once in a while when she comes into the store. But so I was like, hey, why didn't you warn me about how hard it would be to train people? Like training is very, very challenging. And I think like I have really high expectations for my staff as far as customer service, because from the moment I bought the company, we got a lot of adversity and pushback from like financial lenders. Didn't want to lend us money because they're like, nobody needs popcorn to survive.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, and
not an essential.
this isn't really related, but somebody flat out told us, you will not be in business a year. Like, this is a terrible plan. Run,
I hope
don't
you
walk.
pin that up on your board or something.
Super motivational quote. I want to make a poster of it. But so yeah, that was kind of my mindset. I'm like, we have to find a way around that because it's true. Nobody needs popcorn to survive. So I told my staff, I'm like, the original group that we had, I'm like, we need to make a connection with people. You know, I kind of explained my story of how what I felt when I worked there, like people wanting to talk and like converse and stuff. I want my staff to give samples out because I love samples. Like I go to Costco, like who doesn't love the samples?
It's the best part.
So I'm like, that's kind of a way to connect with people. Nifty Nut House does a great job of that.
Yeah, they do.
You know, so we're like, we're gonna do a lot of samples. We're gonna talk to people. So our expectations are pretty high with customer service. So we kind of start everybody that works for us training them on that, because if you're gonna be behind our counter, you have to know how to help a customer, because otherwise, if you walk away from the customer, they don't know that you're not trained on ringing them up, you know? So it just kind of looks rude. So I always start them there, and then just making everything, you know, there's just so many ways you can mess up.
Yeah, there are.
And so just the whole training process is kind of exhausting sometimes for me and my mom and my West manager, and I'm sure our employees too, but that has been pretty eye-opening, is just trying to find a way to streamline it and make it a little easier.
Sure, makes sense.
Working on that.
For sure. Do you have any advice for future business owners or people that want to start even like a food place or even just a business in Wichita? What advice do you have for people?
Yeah, so Wichita in general is, I knew I wanted to open my business here. When we left though for college, I didn't feel like it was as cool as it is now.
Yeah,
and now
it's
I
changed
think
a lot.
it's so cool, and like just meeting all the different business owners that I've gotten to meet over the past few years of doing this, everyone's really supportive. Like they'll be like, oh, you own the Popcorner, I love the Popcorner, and then I find out what they own and I'm like, I go there all the time too. And I think Wichita has a really good entrepreneurial spirit, and we're all very supportive of new businesses. So I would say, like, first of all, you're opening it in a great spot, but just be like, don't be afraid to really think about your business and think like, do I have a good niche market? You know, sometimes people have a really great idea, but their target market is very narrow. And so don't be afraid to just take an objective look at your business or have someone else look at it. Kansas Small Business Development Center, have you heard of them?
I have not.
They helped me get like connected with a lender that would actually loan to us because we got rejected twice. And it was heartbreaking because in my heart I'm like, this is what I meant to do. This is like my Disney dream coming true. Like, you're not gonna tell me I can't get a loan on it. But we got told that 2 times. So we went to KSBDC, and they are part of Wichita State.
Okay, maybe I have heard of them. I just haven't heard the full name before. Cool.
Yeah, so it's free. So I would recommend going to them. And you know, when you're first starting out, you need every penny you have, and so free was really, really appealing to me. But not only is it free, but they do great work. So they do business consulting, and they checked our financials over and helped us like clean them and, you know, really scrub it. And you know, they weren't afraid to say like, are you sure? Like, do you think you can do it? And you know, we just knew. I knew I could do it. My dad knew we could do it. We were gonna go forward with it. But they had our back, and they believed in us, and they helped connect us with lenders, because that is so hard to find someone that you can convince to give you money.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
But you can't really start without it in a lot of cases. So I would say definitely go to them, and then if you can find a mentor to run ideas by, like I'm lucky to have my dad as a partner, and then my mom, I got her into it, and so I bounce ideas off of them and vent off of them, but not everybody has that sort of situation. So definitely find a mentor, and they have them at KSBC.
Cool, pretty cool. I'll have to link that up so you can check that out.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we might have missed that you want to talk about with popcorn?
I'm trying to think. Do you have any memories of me? Like, I remember you running in after school, like, with your backpack and, like you said, getting icy.
Oh, yeah.
And your youngest brother was, like, now he's, like, a football
star.
He was like a baby. He was a baby, like, running in, and his backpack was bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
And now to think about
I can still picture him that size, yeah.
I can. I'm like, oh,
and now both brothers are bigger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was just curious, like,
not
what
specific
I
off the top of my head. Just kind of, just in general, just being in there after school, being in there working with you guys, and Kimberly and everybody else.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Who else? Ashley, Elise, all
yeah.
The starter people.
The original
good times,
OG Vic's crew. That's right.
That was awesome.
Some of them still help me out at Christmas. It's kind of fun.
You put Julie to work when she comes back in town?
I do put Julie to work. She has to work. And Jennifer Geisler's helped me. Emma.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody.
I'm sure I'm missing people and I don't.
We'll just shout out Pat real quick since he's the only family member.
Yes, he does all the deliveries, my brother, and all the pickups, and my mom does all the fudge, and helps me like stay sane out east. And then my dad does like almost everything, but he's trying to do facilities, and keep our machines running and stuff, which I'm sure you remember.
Oh yeah,
your dad doing that. So.
Mom was always fixing something. So.
Good times.
So where are your locations at? Just so people that don't know, east and west.
Yeah, so our east one is at Greenwich and Central in the same strip mall as Emperor's, and then right by Churn and Burn. And then our west one is at 21st and Tyler, and it's right by Sherry's. Kind of, we like to landmark next to Sherry's because they're awesome. And I guess there's a pizza ranch opening out west,
really?
So I'm kind of excited.
I actually haven't been to the west popcorn location yet. So I don't go west very often.
Yeah, because we live out east too. So.
Yeah, we'll have to go check that out sometime.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so we're going to mix it up just a little bit, just some kind of off-the-wall questions that I pull from other podcasts and everything. So, is there something you often recommend to people? It doesn't have to be business-related, but it can be, whether it's a book, podcast, a TV show, or movie that you like.
So just for people in general, or people that are owning business?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, I've always been really passionate about music, so music like calms me down. I kind of listen to like all kinds. Like one day I might be listening to Metallica, the next day it could be like classical. Like I just love music in general. So I would say maybe finding like your favorite band or something, if that's what works to calm you down.
Yeah.
Like, downtime is big, and that's hard for me to get much of anymore. I love reading too. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, unfortunately, but I love reading. I've been reading Rachel Hollis a lot. I don't know if you know
I do
her.
know that.
She's kind of like inspirational, geared towards women, but I'm sure men.
Yeah, I'll have to link up some of her stuff. Do you have a favorite book or so?
No, it's hard to pick a favorite. I just love reading in general.
Yeah.
Like I might be reading like a business book one day. The next day I might be reading like British literature, like really weird. I'm just all over the place. So
cool. Yeah, I'll have to link up some of her
reading
stuff.
is relaxing for me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite failure? It doesn't have to be popcorn, but again, it can be if you'd like to.
Okay. Well, we can maybe. I told you I wanted to be a dentist. That was kind of. A failure.
What I guess what made you change from that path? Just not wanting to do it.
Just like I realized that my brain didn't really understand science like I felt like it should in order to really be passionate about it, and I didn't like feel that spark. So I'm like, if I'm not even like really feeling super excited about it before I get my degree or even go to dental school, like something's wrong there. Yeah. So now this worked out really well because now I just send people to the dentist with my products. So
it's all connected. It's a circle of life.
It really is. But actually, I was thinking about this today. When I first started the popcorn, we on our shelf sold low-calorie caramel and cheddar because I saw Vic's did it when I lived in Omaha.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's really cool. Like I've always kind of been health conscious. I'm like, maybe that's a great idea. So I developed a recipe for the low-calorie caramel and cheddar, and I made it a regular flavor, and it just like was the worst flop ever.
Really?
And it took me like 2 years before like my staff would be like, it never sells, like we weren't
So
gonna
it just wasn't selling?
It just wasn't selling. Or people would get it by mistake, and they would come back and be like, I didn't know this was the low calorie, like can I change it out? Like I want the full fat in my popcorn.
Well, I guess if you're coming in for popcorn, maybe you just know that you're...
like I didn't even think, that was kind of silly of me, but
it's not a bad idea though. You'd think that.
So we'll do it like in January. We usually do it the first week after
the
holidays to like lighten everybody up. And
Yeah.
they taste pretty good, but not a good seller.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a flop.
That's really funny. What is your definition of success?
Oh, that is So, I would say most people are working towards hopefully a successful future. I'm always like forward thinking, so I'm like, oh, once I lose my weight, I'll be like here, you know.
Right.
But I think just like being healthy and balanced is very good. So like resting, eating well.
Yeah.
I try not to eat all the popcorn, even though it's delicious, but trying to eat like vegetables and stuff, and then just like doing something that you absolutely love, but hopefully making money, because you have to be a contributing member of society. I truly think is very, very important. So just finding what really makes you driven and like what is your ultimate career path, but then finding a way to do that but also keep balance in your life, to me is successful.
Very cool. Yeah.
So constantly working towards that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Do you have a life motto you live by, or what's some of the best advice you've received?
So my life motto, this is kind of crazy, but I'm a Christian, and so I was, raised to be a Christian, and my favorite Bible verse is Philippians 4:13. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So that is my favorite, like that would be my life motto. So when things get crazy, like Christmas time, December 20th, you can catch me like chugging coffee in the back room.
Only 5 days.
I need to get like a drip, like a Camelback or something with coffee, something crazy like that. But it's just so insane, and I just sit there. Like, I think I texted our West manager and my mom last year, like a picture of that Bible verse at a really good time of the year, because we all needed it. But, it's very simple, and it's just resounds with me. Because it's like, this is my life, I'm working really hard, but it's really like God's plan, and it's all in
100%.
His hand, and that's kind of what I believe, not to be super religious on here, but...
No, that's perfectly fine with me. I think it shows just through your story how one door would close and another door would open, and kind of the perfect timing of you wanting to come back and start a business, and kind of my parents were kind of getting burned out and ready to step aside, and so God opening that door for you guys, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's been so great. So just kind of that's what gets me through the tough times.
Yeah,
keeps me going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are there any habits that you've developed over the past couple of years that have most improved your life? I'm sure it changed in the past year when Roman was born.
Yes, it does change a lot. Every year, kind of different. So I guess we'll be religious here.
Let's do it.
I do a 10-minute Bible study every morning.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to build that as a habit, because sometimes I'm tempted to get on and check my Instagram or Facebook,
it's too easy.
email.
It's right there.
I have 2 emails that I have to check every day. So I see all those notifications, but I tell myself no, we're going to do our Bible study first.
Yeah.
And it only takes me about 10 minutes, but I'm trying to get through the whole Bible. And so I think just having that time, 10 minutes in the morning, to do that first has really helped me just kind of not start my day out stressfully.
Sure. That's
because
awesome.
sometimes you'll see an email in the morning and you're like, whoa, rewind. I didn't want to see that yet. Just not very often. But
yeah. It's hard to make time for that, and I think it's important too. I try to do that every morning as well, but
that's awesome.
Sometimes I'll get up and go work out before work, and for whatever reason, I'll prioritize that over my quiet time.
Yeah.
That's not, and my priorities are not right. I need to make use an hour quiet time instead of an hour working out every day. But
an hour would be great.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. So are you just using an app that kind of tells you what to read each day?
Yeah, so I use First 5. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of geared towards women, but I feel like it doesn't really need to be. They just kind of, sometimes when they do their they do a weekend podcast, and sometimes they'll say ladies, but I mean, it really doesn't have to.
So is there a lot of extra stuff, or is it mostly just reading?
So you read a Bible verse, a chapter, not a ton, but it's usually about 5 minutes of actual scripture, and then they have a lot of different writers that are ordained, and
that's cool.
They write for them, and so they kind of dig into the scripture more, which is what I need, especially with the Old Testament ones. Those are kind of tough.
I've tried in past years. I had an app that basically just tells you, okay, in 365 days, this is what you need to read each day to finish the Bible. And I'll make it February or March or April kind of fall off. And I was just making myself do it. I don't know if I was getting anything out of it more than just making myself read it.
If you just read that, the scripture, sometimes it's really hard to get a lot out of it. And so I like that they kind of dig into it. So you'll have to
really
check
cool.
it out.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So what is your favorite part of Wichita? Or is there a hidden gem that you like in Wichita?
I was trying to think of a hidden gem. So I think, well, this isn't hidden, but we're sitting in one that I love, Il Primo.
Yeah.
I've ridden my bike from Andover to here, which is...
Have you really?
That was a long ride.
That's impressive.
Me and my sister Allie did that. But I just love like finding those local places. So they're like everywhere. When we did Roman's birthday, I wanted like cake and I wanted cookies, and I was like, we have great local bakers here, like who can I get that's local? I don't want to like buy it from Dylan's, it'd be way cheaper, but we did 2 different local bakers and they were amazing. Like we got so many compliments on it. So I don't know, I love restaurants, so like I love eating. So me and Kyle will go to like breweries in town, like I love Norton's and just all of them are awesome. I hate to name one when I could name like a million.
Yeah.
But even like in Andover where we grew up, like Timbuktu's amazing.
Timbuktu's amazing. That's definitely his gym.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's done a lot with Spalding's over there, Ray. Like that place is really cool. Poplar, like there's just so many in town.
That's a good point,
it's really hard to name them all.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I just encourage people, like if you're tempted like to go to Outback Steakhouse, like where can we go instead? Like maybe Greystone or somewhere local.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead.
I agree with that. For sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish that Wichita had that it doesn't, or what would you improve about Wichita?
Totally contradictory, but I would be down with the Cheesecake Factory.
Everybody says that on the podcast. Like almost everybody's mentioned that.
I mean, that's awful, but.
Have you had Wichita cheesecake?
No, I
haven't had it
need
either.
to go there. They're in the train station, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I
still
need
haven't
to
been
get
there
out
yet.
there.
But
So with the weight loss school, I've been a little limited, but yeah, I'd be down with cheesecake. But a beach would be nice.
Yeah,
we don't have one of those. Can we get a beach?
Somebody mentioned on the podcast that they like the ocean, so they could go surfing. So.
Exactly. That would be great.
Maybe someday.
We have. I don't know. I love that about Wichita. And people like make fun of me that I have a few friends that like can't wait to leave,
right?
Because they don't see Wichita as amazing as I do. But it's really came a long way in the past decade. And honestly, the thing I love about it is like the people have really good values here.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty nice to you, and we really have like everything you need. Like I don't need to buy like luxury brands. We have some of those though, but we have everything you need without the traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hate traffic.
Yeah.
So
I think the only stuff that we really like don't have that we would like people would really like is like oceans and like mountains. But it's like obviously there's nothing we can do about that stuff. So
like, I love traveling so much, and I think that might be why is because we don't have that stuff here. So every time I travel like, to Colorado or California or Florida, I'm like blown away by the beauty of it because we don't have it.
I have some family in Colorado Springs, and we've asked some of my girl cousins that were like high school, college age, like, do you guys just like wake up every morning like glowing because you're like looking at them? They're like, it's okay. They're like on the side of a mountain, and we're like,
see, and that's sad. Like they should be, but it's just normal. I mean, you see it every day. It's not exciting. So, but no, I love it here, and like just even people like you that were like, we chose to come back here. We've lived in some cool places too, but. You know, there's something about Wichita, something in the water.
You're in
here
Corpus, and there was a beach, and we're back in
Wichita.
So
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So just kind of one more. What does Wichita mean to you?
So that's a good one. I think, like, kind of just like what we talked about. To me, it's home. So I was born in California, and then my parents moved here when I was 7. But like ever since growing up in school and everything, like it's just my home. And so like I lived in Omaha and Lincoln, and I love the Huskers. I love Nebraska, but it just wasn't home. And so home is really like wherever your family is and you know where you grow up. But just something about Wichita, like just had me wanting to come back. And like I said, just you know we have great things here, and people are doing awesome things here. And so I think just the support, and we don't get customers really that are mad coming in. Maybe it's because we sell popcorn and it's fun, but like you don't get angry people very often. So just having the support from the community is really, really cool.
Awesome.
So I think that's the best part about Wichita to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was awesome. I'm glad we could kind of connect our stories and share it with everybody. I don't think a lot of people knew that connection. So
yes,
that
was
awesome
fun.
To
Takes me
it.
back.
Oh yeah.
Nostalgia.
Cool. Awesome. Well, everybody go visit the Pop Corner, and I'll link up some of the stuff we talked about. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Landon.
Thanks, Kirsten.